Imagine you're rich, not comfortable, not doing fine. I mean rich, money in numbers that would silence every doubt you ever had. You've crossed the line most people never reach. The struggle is over, but a new danger begins. Because the moment you get rich, the world changes its eyes on you. You no longer walk among equals, you walk among masks. Most people think wealth brings freedom. It does, but only for the ones who understand secrecy. The first law of real wealth is silence, not humility, not generosity. Silence, the kind that shields your movements and hides your strategy. Nietzsche would have called it the act of protecting one's will to power from the herd's resentment. Because when you rise, the herd feels two emotions at once, admiration and envy, and the second always lasts longer. When you tell people you're rich, they stop seeing you. They start seeing themselves reflected in you, their lack, their excuses, their resentment. They begin to measure your success against their failure, and in that comparison, your downfall becomes their moral victory. To the mediocre mind, your wealth isn't proof of effort, it's proof of injustice. You became the villain in a story they never wrote. That's why the rich who survive, the ones who last beyond the flash, learn to disappear in plain sight. They master the art of invisibility through discretion. They don't post, they don't boast, they don't explain. Their power grows in silence because real power doesn't need confirmation. Money amplifies whatever you already are. If you're insecure, it will destroy you. If you're disciplined, it will set you free. Nietzsche said, "He who fights with monsters should see to it that he himself does not become a monster." Wealth is that monster. It tempts you to overexpose, to prove, to parade. You want to be seen, to be recognized, to show that you made it. But the moment you seek validation, you surrender control. You let others define your value, and that is the beginning of decay. Money moves like a current. It rewards flow and punishes stagnation. That's why secrecy isn't about paranoia. It's about maintaining motion. The more people know your moves, the more friction they add. Opinions, expectations, envy. You end up defending your past instead of building your future. Silence isn't weakness, it's velocity. Look at the ones who lost it all, the athletes, the celebrities, the lottery winners. They mistook visibility for invincibility. They thought exposure equals significance. But wealth exposed is wealth endangered. Every post, every brag, every unnecessary word becomes a signal to predators. They forgot that money doesn't protect fools. It magnifies their vulnerability. The ancient rich understood this. The merchant in Venice, the banker in Florence, the industrialist in Manchester, all built their fortunes behind walls of discretion. They shared power with no one but their own discipline. Because the moment you announce your abundance, you invite the world to test it. Silence, then, is not shyness, it's strategy. In the world of money, noise is a tax. Every rumor, every opinion, every demand from those who just need a little help chips away at your sovereignty. To stay rich, you must learn the art of selective exposure. You must cultivate mystery, not deceit, but distance. The kind of distance that keeps your name out of the mouths of the mediocre. Nietzsche would say, "The herd fears what it cannot classify." Be unclassifiable. Don't let your wealth have a shape they can attack. Let your life move quietly through structures of your own making. Trusts, companies, systems that outlive emotion. This is how the few preserve what the many destroy, because money without structure is chaos, and chaos is the enemy of permanence. When you get rich, the question shifts from "How do I earn more?" to "How do I protect what I built?" Protection isn't just legal, it's psychological. It's learning to say nothing when others crave your story. It's smiling while the world gossips, knowing that truth is useless once the crowd begins to speak. Resentment is the religion of the poor in spirit. They don't hate money, they hate what it reveals. That discipline, sacrifice, and vision separate men far more than luck or birth. To them, every success feels like a theft, every rich man a criminal by implication. And this is why your silence must be absolute. You cannot educate resentment, you can only evade it. Silence is the fortress of the self-made. It lets you keep the focus where it matters, on the motion of capital, not the theater of opinion. It lets your energy compound instead of dissipate through explanation. The rich who talk too much eventually explain themselves into ruin. The ones who stay quiet let results speak a language the herd can never translate. There's a reason true wealth hides behind understatement. The most powerful men don't wear logos. They own the companies that make them. They don't broadcast vacations. They buy privacy. They don't fight online. They control the platforms. They've understood that influence built on attention is fragile, but influence built on ownership endures. Nietzsche's will to power isn't about domination. It's about creation, the constant act of imposing order on chaos. Money is one of the purest expressions of that will. It allows you to build, to choose, to define reality according to your vision. But the herd's morality despises such independence. It praises equality while secretly craving hierarchy. That's why every age produces its scapegoats, those who dared to rise too high. You must understand this. Wealth makes you visible to resentment, but invisible to compassion. The world will love your struggle and hate your success. They cheer the underdog, but crucify the victor. To survive, you must outgrow the need to be understood. Your fortune must not become a performance. It must remain a discipline. Every truly rich person eventually faces the same revelation. Your biggest threat is not theft, not inflation, not competition. It's exposure. The world cannot steal what it cannot see. But once it sees, it will conspire, slowly, quietly, morally, to humble you. That's why discretion isn't cowardice, it's armor. When you move in silence, you reclaim your psychological territory. You stop reacting to noise. You start thinking in decades. You become unshaken by trends because your horizon is longer than the crowd's memory. This is what Nietzsche meant by eternal return. To live as if you would relive every decision forever. Silence makes that possible because it forces you to act from conviction, not approval. Wealth has stages. First, you chase it, then you protect it. Finally, if you're wise, you transcend it. You realize that money was never the goal. It was the proof of your discipline. It's the shadow cast by your competence. But to reach that level, you must survive the noise. You must remain intact while others project their insecurities onto your success. So when you get rich, tell no one, build quietly, move strategically, be generous in private, humble in public, and absolutely ruthless with your boundaries. The fewer people who know what you own, the freer you remain. The crowd cannot attack what it cannot name. You'll notice that the richest minds share one quality, detachment. They don't react to gossip, praise, or outrage. Their identity isn't tied to approval. That detachment is wealth's highest form, psychological independence. It's when your emotional state no longer depends on external recognition. And that's when money becomes what it was always meant to be, a tool of creation, not validation. In a world addicted to visibility, invisibility is power. While others perform for attention, you build foundations. While they chase applause, you acquire control. Every dollar you protect in silence becomes a brick in your fortress. Every secret you keep becomes a weapon against entropy. Nietzsche wrote, "Become who you are." For the wealthy, that means detaching from the need to prove your worth. Money tests your character by amplifying it. If you're vain, it makes you a clown. If you're wise, it makes you sovereign. The choice is not about wealth, it's about what survives exposure. The silence of the rich is not emptiness, It's concentration. It's the quiet hum of strategy, of long games being played behind closed doors. It's the absence of noise that allows compound effects to unfold. Every great empire began in obscurity, not in spectacle. Every dynasty that lasted began with someone who learned the value of discretion. So when you get rich, resist the urge to announce it. Don't post the car. Don't explain the house. Don't justify your rise. Let curiosity work for you. Let people underestimate you. Power multiplies in the dark because the dark is uncontested. You owe no explanations. Wealth isn't a confession, it's a consequence. The only language you should speak fluently is results. Let them talk. You'll be too busy building to answer. Because silence isn't absence, it's dominance restrained. In the end, wealth is not about luxury, it's about mastery. The silence you maintain is the measure of that mastery. To stay rich is to outgrow the human need for validation, to treat envy as weather, inevitable, irrelevant, and beneath your attention. When you get rich, tell no one, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Because power spoken is power diluted. The truest wealth is the one no one sees, built quietly, held firmly, and protected by silence. When you stay silent, you create a symmetry, an advantage built on mystery. The fewer signals you give, the harder it becomes for anyone to map your reality. Every piece of information you reveal becomes a potential handle for manipulation. The rich who talk too much end up handing their leverage to those who envy them. Silence keeps you ungraspable. It turns you from a person into a presence, known, but never defined. As wealth deepens, your circle must shrink. The illusion of social abundance dies once you understand how scarcity of trust preserves value. The crowd is not evil, but it is hungry. It feeds on stories, on confessions, on access. And when you let it feed on your life, it leaves you hollow. That's why discretion is not isolation, it's filtration. You keep only those who add clarity, not confusion. You'll discover that wealth amplifies loneliness only when you try to share it with the wrong minds. The wise don't seek understanding from those who haven't built anything. They share only with equals, and even then, sparingly. Conversation, in the realm of power, is currency. Every word you spend must yield return. Idle talk is financial leakage disguised as sociability. Real privacy is not about hiding from the world. It's about owning your exposure. You control what's seen and what's guessed. You become deliberate with presence. You show up only when necessary, and when you do, your silence has weight. Because in a world addicted to noise, composure itself becomes status. The discipline of secrecy sharpens perception. It teaches you to read intentions beneath words, to sense energy beneath compliments. When you stop revealing yourself, you start noticing who demands revelation from you and why. You'll see that most curiosity isn't innocent, it's inventory. They're not asking who you are, they're calculating what they can extract. To protect wealth, you must think like a strategist, not a celebrity. A strategist doesn't announce moves. He designs environments where every reaction benefits him. This is how the rich turn invisibility into architecture. They hide ownership through structures, trusts, holding companies, layered investments, because what cannot be traced cannot be attacked. Power becomes distributed, faceless, and therefore untouchable. Nietzsche wrote about the necessity of masks, not as deception, but as sophistication. The mask is not a lie, it's protection for truth. In money, this means creating personas that absorb attention, while your real operations stay unseen. It's the art of misdirection in a world addicted to exposure. You don't hide out of fear, you hide out of design. Even generosity must be strategic. When you give without structure, you create dependency. But when you give through systems, foundations, scholarships, funds, you turn emotion into governance. Real generosity strengthens the giver's power. It doesn't deplete, it multiplies. Silent generosity is sovereignty, disguised as compassion. You'll reach a point where you no longer need to be admired. You'll prefer to be underestimated. Let others think small of you. It's a shield more effective than security. The loud rich become targets. The quiet rich become myths. No one attacks what they can't locate. Silence also disciplines ego. It starves the need for applause and teaches patience with the invisible compounding of effort. Every empire that survived understood this. Reputation is built in absence, not presence. What people imagine about you will always exceed what they know, and that gap is your fortress. There's a mental clarity that comes when you stop explaining yourself. You start thinking in terms of systems, not statements. You move capital without emotion. You observe markets without panic. You understand that true stability isn't in assets, it's in psychology. Money follows those who can stay composed when others react. The herd seeks emotional validation. The sovereign seeks informational advantage. The first talks, the second listens. The first spends to be seen. The second invests to disappear. This contrast defines who lasts. Every generation produces talkers who burn bright and vanish, and builders who endure in silence. Power compounds quietly. You can trace noise, but you cannot trace quiet progress. The true masters of finance and influence appear only when necessary, often through proxies. They don't need credit because they already possess control. They've transcended recognition. Eventually, you'll see that the highest form of wealth isn't accumulation, it's insulation. The ability to live untouched by chaos, to move through crises without exposure. Insulation requires structure, diversified streams, loyal alliances, and legal armor. But above all, it requires emotional restraint. Silence is emotional insulation. It prevents panic from leaking into decision. The discipline of silence is also an education in patience. Most fortunes are destroyed by haste, the desire to prove, to expand too quickly, to answer every challenge. But the rich who last understand the rhythm of compounding. They build slowly, invisibly, letting time magnify their intelligence. The impatient reveal their plans. The patient reveal results. As money grows, your greatest risk becomes misinterpretation. The more you possess, the less you can say. Every opinion becomes a statement of interest. Every word, a potential liability. Silence, then, is the final luxury, the freedom to act without explaining, to think without being observed. You'll notice how wealth changes relationships, not because money corrupts, but because it reveals. Those who once saw you as equal now recalibrate their behavior. Some flatter, some resent, some retreat. It's all data. Silence gives you the space to observe it without reacting. Wealth teaches you to let revelation occur naturally. There is dignity in mystery. In a time where people live-stream their lives for crumbs of validation, the ability to keep something for yourself becomes a rebellion. Privacy becomes power. It's the new luxury the crowd can't afford. You'll learn to measure wealth differently, not by display, but by detachment. The ability to walk away, to say nothing, to owe nothing. That's wealth. Silence is not a retreat from the world. It's proof that you no longer need its permission. The deeper truth is that silence transforms wealth into philosophy. It turns possession into perspective. When you no longer need to declare what you have, you begin to reflect on why you sought it. That's when money fulfills its highest function, revealing who you truly are. Because once you have enough, the battlefield shifts inward. It's no longer about acquiring, it's about mastering yourself amidst abundance. The silence you've cultivated externally must now become internal. Freedom from comparison, from impulsive desire, from the noise of ambition itself. That's the final test. Nietzsche would call it self-overcoming, the ability to transcend the instincts that once built you. The will that conquered poverty must now conquer pride. The strength that created wealth must now create peace. This is the quiet metamorphosis from rich man to master. So keep building quietly. Let your name fade while your influence expands. Let the world speculate while you act in shadows. Because the greatest fortune is not seen, not spoken, not shared. It's lived. When you get rich, tell no one. And when you stay rich, tell nothing. Let silence speak for you, forever.